Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make this shop UI. So if you go to the NPC for example and you interact with him, and let's just say you have some money here up there and you want to buy like an item, you can click on it, you can buy it, and for example right now you have the sword. We spent 500 to buy the sword. Of course I didn't mention that, but this is how it works, and you can like open it on E, close it on E, and buy items. So let's get to the video. Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make a shop GUI. So first thing what we need to do is we need to go into server script service, and we want to add a leader stats because we need some money, of course, to buy the things with. So we're gonna type, let me just see, just give me a moment. Okay, so back to the video. We need leader stats, so we need local players, who's game.players. We created like what is it called? We created just a normal script, server script. So we're gonna do players.player added .connect.function, and we're gonna say player here, and we're gonna say local the leader stats equals instance.new. We're gonna say folder, and we're gonna create that, and we're gonna create local, not local actually, leader stats.parent is gonna be player. So the player that joined the game, this is gonna be their thing. So now what we wanna do, we wanna create money instance.new dot int value, and we're gonna say money dot parent equals leader stats, money dot name equals money, and money dot value equals, let's just put it to 10,000. Let's just start. Let's see what happens right now if we join the game. Oh right, nothing happens. I forgot one thing. We wanna change the name of the leader stats to be equal to leader stats with the small L at the start. So now we have 10,000 money, and this is what we're gonna use to buy the things with. So now for the shop GUI that we want to create, we want to go into starter GUI, and we want to, I don't know why it's not showing me instance object the screen GUI. It's not showing me the UI here up there. I don't know why that happens. I'll fix it in a second, just wait a second. Okay, I fixed the bug, I just rejoined. So now the bug is fixed, and in the shop GUI we want to add a frame, or better yet, we can add a scrolling frame, which we can scroll through, and we can extend it, and we can center it on the screen. We can just go to test and test with device, center it on the screen, see what it looks like on this resolution. And inside of this, we want to go to the plugins, use the unit conversion plugin, set its scale so it's always the same, doesn't matter which device it is. It's always going to be the same scale, I guess. And we probably want to add a constraint. So yeah, this should work. This is just some error codes, doesn't matter. Inside of it, we want to create UI grid layout, and we want to create let's say it can be an image button, a text button, but for now I'm just gonna use text. And in here we want to change the color of this, perhaps, of the background, and UI grid. This is gonna be the item that we're gonna buy. So text button can be, for example, sword, and we're gonna call it sword, for example. So now that we have this button and this scroll menu which we can like go through and stuff, we can buy things inside of it. And to make it a little bit more pretty, we can add it inside of a frame, which we have to resize, of course. Again, it's a little bit too big, so we're gonna make it smaller. We're gonna go to plugins and translate the scale and add a constraint. And inside of here, we want to change the anchor point to 0.5.5. Want to center it. Let me just find the center of this. Doesn't really matter. We're going to expand it. Okay, so the UI aspect ratio is the thing that's making it weird. So now that we got this ShopUI that we'll place here, we can change, we can leave it. On this sword thingy, we can change the frame color to be, I don't know, this. And we can change this transparency to be 0. So now we have a scrolling frame and stuff like that. We can take this off, and it's just bothering me for right now. So now that we got a scrolling frame and a sword button, we want to connect this to a local script, and we're gonna say local, and we're gonna reference the button equals script.parent, which is the button. We're gonna say if button dot input began dot connect dot function, then we want to do something, and inside of replicated storage we want to add a folder, and we're gonna call it remotes. And inside of remotes we want to add a remote event, and that remote event, why is it here? Okay, I guess I somehow dragged it here. We're gonna call it buy event. So now we have a buy event. Now we want to go create, no, this is in script service. What? Okay, replicate storage. We want to create another script, and this script is gonna be buy server. Okay, so what we want to do in local script, we want to reference that in the remote storage, not remote storage, in what is it called, server storage? No, in replicated storage. Yeah, replicated storage, or just rs game.replicated storage dot remotes dot, and we call it buy event. So now we want to do buy event, or rs, or we can just call it buy event dot fire. So we're gonna fire it, which is gonna trigger something, and inside of here we want to say, for example, what we want to buy, a sword, for example. So if it's a sword, let's just get a model of a sword, for example, and this UI we can just visible it for now, doesn't really matter. So inside of this we can find weapons. Sword is probably here, okay. And we want to put it in replicated storage, and we want to call this folder items. And the classics for it, we put it in here. So now that it's in there, what we want to do inside of the buy server, we want to reference the event that we created. So the buy event equals game.replicate storage remotes dot buy event, and now we want to do buy event dot on server event connect function, and want to say player, because the first thing that when we send it from the local script, we're sending, this is the second thing, the second parameter that we're sending, and the first, when you're calling it from the client to the server, is always going to be player. Okay, so now that we know the player, we can say this, we can call it what we did. Basically, it's a item, and now inside of here we can reference that item, local item, which is probably gonna be sword. We're gonna say game.replicate storage.items dot sword, for example, if it's even there. Let me just see. Classic sword dot classic sword. So now we're gonna say if player, oh no, actually what we want to say is item, if item dot name, which is basically sword or classic sword. If classic sword, if the name is classic sword equals to item dot name, then player dot backpack equals, let me just think. So what we want to do is we want to clone that item, okay, local clone item, and we're gonna say item dot two dots clone. Actually, we want to do sword. We want to clone the sword that we found. So sword clone. And now that we have the sword, we're gonna clone it, and clone.item.parent equals player.backpack. And there's one thing I forgot to check, is we want to set, before we clone it, if the player.backpack, not backpack actually, sorry, player.player.GUI, no, player.find first child.leaderstats. Why is it doing this stupid thing? Oh no, how do I disable this? Okay, so leader stats dot find first child dot money, then if, and then so if player.findFirstChild has leader stats folder, and inside of there has money, we're gonna say if money, or player dot, actually we can just do the leader stats here like this, or no, we have to check. So we're just gonna copy this, dot money dot value equals, and let's just say we want the price of the sword to be like 500. Then if we have 500 coins, we're gonna take away those 500 coins. We're gonna do another player dot thingy, and we're gonna say minus equals 500. Okay, and this should clone it and do the thing. So we're gonna check out right now if it's visible. We're gonna play it, and we're gonna try and buy the sword. So now that we're in the game, we have 10,000 money, and if we click it, did something happen? Nothing happened. Okay, so why did nothing happen? Let me check out. So if it's equals, if it's higher or equals to 500, then we're gonna buy it. That's why it didn't work, because I said if it's equals 500, and we don't have 500, we have 10,000, and it's comparing completely that value to this. If it's bigger and equals, so if it's like bigger or equal to 500, we're gonna buy it. So now it should work. So if I click here, you can see our money going down. We have 9,500 and we got the sword. And with the UI, to trigger the UI, we're just gonna set it to visible off. And we can create like a rig, for example, which is an NPC. And we can say block avatar. And we're gonna put it here. And now that we got this block avatar, we're gonna put a script in him, which is gonna fire stuff. We can put an event trigger, for example. Let me just find where it is. We have click detector, we can use proximity prompt. And inside our proximity prompt, we can place a script. And we can say local the button. Or just proximity prompt. We can equal it to script.parent.proximity prompt. Okay, just script.parent. So what we're gonna do, proximity prompt dot triggered connect function, and this returns player, I think, if I'm correct. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna say, we're gonna create another event actually, and we're gonna say trigger UI, and we're gonna go to it, local, we're gonna reference it, trigger UI, game.replicate.storage.remotes.trigger UI, and we're gonna say trigger UI dot fire client, and we're gonna pass the player. So now inside of this script, inside of here, inside of the frame, we're gonna create another script, and this one is gonna be local script, and it's gonna be show UI, and we're gonna reference the event show UI or trigger UI, and we're gonna say game.replicate.storage.remotes.trigger UI, and we're gonna say trigger UI dot on client event dot connect dot function, and we're gonna say player, and if player, so if player is this, okay, so basically trigger it, and we're gonna say local player equals game.players.local player, because we're in a local script. We're gonna check if player equals player, or player.user ID equals player.user ID. Then we're gonna say, we're also gonna reference the frame, which is the frame, script.parent, which is the frame, and we're gonna say the frame to be frame equals not frame dot visible equals yeah, frame dot visible equals not frame dot visible. So we can toggle it, and if we play it, and if we go to the NPC and we press E, okay, something happened. Attempt to index nil with user ID. Okay, line 6. Okay, let me figure this out. Okay, so I figured it out. So basically, we're gonna send the player, and besides the player, we're gonna send player.user ID. And in the show UI, we're just gonna say user ID, and this is gonna print the user ID of the player, and if the two IDs match, then the correct player is gonna have a visible frame, basically. So basically checks, this is for checking if the player is actually, you know, that player that we want. So basically, it checks which player wanted the UI, and it's sending the user ID of it, or in other case the player. So for example, if there's multiple players and one is, for example, has a different user ID and he wants to open the UI, it will only open for him. So that's why we need this to check if this is it. So now if we play the game and wait for it to load, of course, if we press E, we can open it, press E again, we can close it, press E, we can buy swords. We're wasting our money. You can put other items in there, and yeah, you have the sword. That's it. And to save these things, this is for another video. It's about data stores, but I'm not going to show that today because this video is already too long. So I hope you enjoy. I will put the scripts in the comments. So let me just fix some of these things up. So we have a classic sword, for example. Here the frame is gonna be ShopUI, and scrolling frame, and these things I showed you how to make them. So for example, if we have like different items here, we can just duplicate the swords, gonna like stack next to each other, and we can just change the local script of this, which is the send by request. So basically we're sending it. Oh, another thing that I think I forgot. Okay, let's check the player that it gives the inventory. Oh, it doesn't matter because it already sends the player from the local. Okay, so if you want to like call this, I don't know, an X, for example, and we're gonna call it an X. We're just gonna change this to X, and whatever we have, like whatever we have in the thing, we go into script in the buy server thingy, and if the item equals, for example, local X and game dot we reference the X, it's gonna check which one it is. Basically, the item is gonna check if it's a sword here. We can do else here, else if item equals, and we say X, for example, local X, and we reference the path to it. We can basically do the same logic here. Player on money, we change how much money it costs. Of course, this is not the best way to do it, but it's one of the ways to do it. And yeah, for now I don't want to complicate this video too much, so that's why I did it this way. But yeah, this is how you create a buy UI basically for your games. It's this concept basically. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching. See you in the next one.